Hey everybody, this is Jim Cooley. I wanted to talk to you today about criminal arrest warrants on police officers. You know, a wise man once said, and I'll tell you who it was. He's called I'm a Free Man, and if you've ever watched his videos on YouTube, he puts out great videos. He said, read the criminal codes, read the vehicle codes. You will find gold in them. Well, I did find gold in them. And going through the codes, I mean, there's a lot of them, but going through the codes, it's amazing that police officers don't even know three-quarters of these codes that are in there. Well, I've drawn up 4 criminal arrest warrants. Now, arrest warrants against police officers can only be signed by a superior court judge. So my intention on Monday is to take these 4 warrants before a Gwinnett Superior Court judge and get him to sign them. As you can see, this actually mimics the criminal arrest warrant that was put out on me when this person here, Bryce Flora, who's a Gwinnett County police officer, arrested me on a criminal trespass warrant. Needless to say that charge was dropped. And now it's my turn to have him arrested. What was interesting, as you can see, it has my name here, don't have any arrest warrant number yet, no case number, his name, his sex, I don't know his date of birth, his race, and the address that is used is the address of his work, the Gwinnett County Police Department. And it states here, affidavit. And then it says, personally appeared the undersigned, James Rudolph Cooley, who on oath says that to the best of James Rudolph Cooley's first-hand knowledge and belief. I changed that to first-hand instead of just knowledge. The above named accused between 4/28/2014 at 1800 hours and 4/28/2014 at 1930 hours did commit the offense of false imprisonment under color of legal process. It was amazing when I found this charge in violation of OCGA 16-5-42. And that's what it says, false imprisonment under color of legal process against James Rudolph Cooley and the code of this state, not the law of the state, against the code of this state, because I'm charging him with violating that code. See, what some people don't understand is that codes are not law if they violate the Constitution. And this is the address where I was arrested. This place is actually the Beaufort City Schools Administrative Offices. That's where they were holding a school board, not meeting. They were there only to take a vote to take by eminent domain an American Legion post that was right across the street from them. And so I was there peaceably assembling. And because the superintendent didn't like it, he called the police, and the police arrested me. Yes, isn't that amazing? The facts this affidavit for arrest is based on are: said accused did knowingly and without authority under color of legal process handcuff and falsely imprison with malice and oppression James Rudolph Cooley in the Gwinnett County Detention Center. Said accused knowingly and maliciously executed a false charge of criminal trespass against affiant. James Rudolph Cooley makes this affidavit that a warrant may issue for the accused person's arrest. Now, as you can see, this is for when, and I may have to change that to Superior Court Judge, which I'm glad I caught that because I called the magistrate's court today and I actually spoke to the magistrate who was on call, and she said that only a Superior Court judge can sign a warrant for police officers, school personnel, the people who are privileged. And then here it says prosecutor. Now, I can be the prosecutor because you can actually be your own lawyer. So I can be the prosecutor. I'm not taking this to the district attorney for him to take before a grand jury because he will never do it. And they've shown that in the past. And then after the judge signs it, the judge would sign for the sheriff to execute this warrant. And that's exactly what it says. To any sheriff, deputy sheriff, coroner, constable, or marshal of this state, greetings. Yes, it actually says that on my warrant. For sufficient cause made known to me in the above affidavit incorporated by reference herein, and other sworn testimony, you are hereby commanded to arrest the accused, Bryce Scott Flora, named in the above affidavit, charged by the prosecutor therein with the above offenses against the code of this state, not the law of this state, at the time, place, and manner named in the above affidavit, and bring the accused before me or another judicial officer of this state to be dealt with as the law directs, herein fail not. And then it has a place for him to sign to execute it. Now, what's interesting, and I'll just go ahead and change that. Now, what's interesting is that they don't get these warrants and then go to arrest you. They throw you in booking at the jail, and then they go before the magistrate judge to get a warrant, which is unconstitutional. Because the code in Georgia, well, actually, they have 3 different codes in Georgia. One that says you must be brought before the magistrate immediately, and actually, that's what this says here in the warrant. And bring the accused before me or another judicial officer of this state to be dealt with as the law directs. So it's telling you in the warrant, but by the time they get the warrant, they've already arrested you without a warrant. And believe me, when I say he didn't have probable cause to arrest me, he didn't. Even the magistrate judge who signed the warrant had this guy in front of her for 3 hours trying to convince her why she should sign the warrant. Now, I actually want to thank her for signing it, because what she did was she realized, that he was violating my rights, so she signed the warrant, and then she had me released immediately without posting any bond. And let's put it this way, they got me out of there quick. I mean, I was in there for 5 hours, but he spent 3 hours in front of her, so I think he was, kind of punished. And he was new. He wasn't even a year into his service with the Gwinnett County Police Department. So because I have his oath of office, so I know when he joined, and it was interesting, you know. Uh, and I told him when I was in his police car, I said, "Be careful what you do." I said, "When you violate somebody's rights, it's going to come back to haunt you." Well, I intend for this to come back to haunt him because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, the thing I want to stress is that you have to be vigilant in not arguing with the officer who's arresting you under false pretenses. You'll never get anywhere that way. And never resist, because when you resist, then they want to add charges. So the best thing to do is go with the flow. If you watched the video on my arrest, when I was arrested, it was actually videotaped. Oh, and by the way, I filed a complaint with the Office of Professional Standards. And if on my YouTube, if you watch his interview, you can see that even in his interview, he lies to the investigators, but the investigators have already seen the video I submitted as evidence, so they know he's still lying when they're interviewing him. And then he comes clean. And what's interesting is the next day after he arrested me, he added a supplemental report because he was basically told, hey, your report doesn't match what happens. You need to change it. And so all four who were there, the sergeant, another officer, and a lieutenant, and this officer, they all submitted supplemental reports the same time, the same day. Isn't that interesting? I mean, they all had to get their story straight. So that was pretty interesting, you know. Oh, and another thing I'd like to say is the best thing you can do is get all the evidence you need. File open records requests and get dash cam audio and video. Get arrest reports. Get their notes. Get anything you can. Get their oaths of office. It's all important. And this officer is going to find out just exactly what I mean when I told him, be careful what you do. Now, I kind of like the way this is worded. And like I said, I'm going to, this code, I was actually surprised when I found this code because it actually applied to officers. That's right. And I was shocked by that. But it's a good one. So we're going to take a look at another one. This one here, by the way, does this one look... That one looked really big. Let me see where it was. Hang on a second. Was it the last one? Yeah. I don't know. What size am I using here? Oh, I'm using 9. Okay. That's fine. That'll work. This one just looked a little bit smaller. Now this one personally appeared the undersigned James Rudolph Cooley, who on oath says that to the best of James Rudolph Cooley's first-hand knowledge and belief, the above named accused on 4/28, 2014 at 21:04:26. That's 9:04 and 26 seconds, because that's the time he had on the warrant. And I really should change this. Did commit the offense of unauthorized practice of law forbidden in violation of OCGA 15-19-51 A13. This officer actually called himself in my warrant a prosecutor. Two things. One, he can't be a prosecutor when he's a police officer because he can't hold any office of trust. And half the time you can't trust them anyway. But two, he doesn't have a license to practice law. Now, the difference between him calling himself a prosecutor and me calling myself a prosecutor is that when he went before the judge, he was actually going before the judge not on his behalf, but on someone else's behalf. So therefore, he was representing someone else. And you can't do that. Well, you can, but he doesn't know he can. But because, the Supreme Courts, the state Supreme Courts think that, they can get away with saying you have to have a license to practice law. There actually is no license to practice law. There never has been. The only thing that someone gets when they pass the bar is a certificate showing that they're eligible to practice law in that state. That's not a license because the only one who can issue licenses are the states. And like the State Bar of Georgia, see, this is where it's all a scam. The State Bar of Georgia is nothing more than a non-profit organization that you have to pay dues to. And once you become a bar member, you're obligated to the court, which means just try and do something against the court and they'll make sure that you lose your bar card. And that's what it is. And that's how it is. Because an attorney's first obligation is to the court. His client comes second. So remember that. Did commit the offense of unauthorized practice of law forbidden in violation of OCGA 15-19-51A13. It shall be unlawful for any person other than a duly licensed attorney at law to practice or appear as an attorney at law to hold himself out to the public as being entitled to practice law against James Cooley and the code of this state. And the address you see there is the address of the jail because that's where the magistrate court is. Well, actually, that's the civil magistrate court. The criminal magistrate court is at another building. The facts this affidavit for arrest are based on said accused did commit unauthorized practice of law by going before a magistrate judge in Gwinnett County and presenting warrant number, and there's the warrant number, and make the claim under oath that accused is a prosecutor 4 times in violation of his oath and the code of this state. James Rudolph Cooley makes this affidavit that a warrant may issue for the accused person's arrest. Now, judges allow them, police officers, to call themselves prosecutors because the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, said that they can do it. But the state Supreme Court doesn't make codes or the law. Well, they make law if it's not in violation. Well, if it's not appealed to a higher court, then what they say goes. That's how it goes. But they just can't say, hey, you can be a prosecutor because we want to skip a step and we don't want to have a whole bunch of prosecutors on call 24 hours a day at the jail because we don't want to pay them. Now, there's a case, and you can read it, which talks about this exact same thing. It's called Kalina v. Fletcher, and that was the case. A guy sued a prosecutor because the prosecutor actually did the job of the police officer, signed off as the police officer, and signed off as the prosecutor. And the guy sued him, and she took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, sorry, you did wrong, you can be sued, because she lost her immunity. And that was good. I really like that one. You know what? We have to change this. And I'll go ahead and change that now. Let me just highlight it here, because we're going to make sure everything is right. Oops, and then I know I got to change it down here. And I have to change it on the other one too that I just did. So let's go ahead and get that one now, and we'll go ahead and change it. You know what? I don't like the size of this anyway. I'm going to lower this size. To 8. That looks much better. More uniform. Oops, I gotta change this one right here. Okay, we've gone through that one. We've gone through this one. Now, the next one, personally appeared the undersigned James Rudolph Cooley, who on oath says that to the best of James Rudolph Cooley's first-hand knowledge and belief, the above named accused between 428 at that time did commit the offense of perjury by him swearing under oath before the judge that he was a prosecutor. He committed perjury. Yes. Because when you falsely testify under oath, you've committed perjury against James Rudolph Cooley and the code of this state. The facts this affidavit for arrest is based on are said accused did knowingly and willfully make a false statement before a magistrate judge of Gwinnett County, Georgia, in order to obtain a false criminal arrest warrant. Said accused knowingly and willfully committed perjury against affiant, and then I make this affidavit that a warrant may issue for his arrest. And I got to change this to Superior Court. And I'll have to change it down here. And you know what? I'm actually going to change this from judge to honorable. Because you want them to be honorable. And it just shows them a little more respect. And maybe we'll extend this line a little bit. like that. Back it up one. Okay, let's go to the next one. Personally appeared the undersigned James Rudolph Cooley, who on oath says that to the best of James Rudolph Cooley's first-hand knowledge and belief, the above named accused between 428 blah 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 did commit the offense of false imprisonment, because that's what he did. He false imprisoned me in violation of this code section. The facts this affidavit for arrest is based on are said accused in violation of James Rudolph Cooley's personal liberty. That's your rights. Liberty is your right. Did arrest and confine James Rudolph Cooley without legal authority. Said accused knowingly and willfully did false imprison affiant. Then I make this affidavit that a warrant may issue for his arrest. And believe me, I want the judge to sign these warrants. Not sure if he's going to do it or not, but we will see. And then we'll just go ahead and extend that line. Make sure it doesn't interfere. And then we'll just take the prosecutor and tab it over once. And then we'll change this. I'm not the fastest typer. In fact, I don't type fast at all. Okay, let's go back to the others and we'll just correct some things that I wanted to change. Now, the one thing I want to stress is that if you don't do something, nothing is ever going to get done. So it's up to you. If you believe you've been wronged, you have to take the initiative and go after them. Otherwise, they will just continue doing what they do. And that's work under color of law. And that's not what we want. We want them to uphold their oath. Okay, I think we've got everything for each one. Now we're just going to go ahead and check. Oh, forgot a little comma there. And you know, it's just a matter of making sure you have everything written out the way you want it and the way the judge wants to see it. And I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll do an update on this video after Monday. And if he signed the warrants, I will scan a video on the signed warrants, and we'll know whether the judge was honorable or not. This is Jim Cooley